This is Newsroom. Good morning. I'm Catrine Malan in for Eben Jansen today. The show is live and broadcast from Johannesburg in South Africa. We are streaming live on YouTube as we speak, with the entire show available on our YouTube channel all the time. Today we speak to the National Union of Mineworkers about the ongoing crisis on South Africa's platinum belt. We take a look at the latest in the Oscar Pistorius case, and the Goodman Gallery is back with another bold exhibition. But more on that later in the show. First, let's take a look at this morning's headlines. The president of the AMCU Mineworkers Union, Joseph Matunja, says they will continue with their strike at the platinum mines until their demands have been met. An undisclosed number of workers did return to Lonmin's mine at Marikana yesterday, which was the company's deadline for them to return. Judge Thokozile Masipa says that sending murder-accused Oscar Pistorius for mental observation is not a punishment, and that the possibility of him being an outpatient should be investigated. Pistorius was sent for psychiatric evaluation after a forensic psychiatrist testified that he had general anxiety disorder. The final order will be given on Tuesday. And then the death toll from Turkey's coal mine disaster has risen to 274 and likely to go higher. Anxious relatives are still waiting outside the mine in the town of Soma for any news of their loved ones. Around 100 miners are still missing following the underground fire on Tuesday. The leaders of the AMCU union have vowed to continue the marathon strike in the platinum mining sector. The platinum producers Lonmin said yesterday as the deadline for the employees to return to their post, and an undisclosed number did return to work.
The action has dragged on for 4 months. The union AMCU told workers to stand together and keep the strike alive. Many of the workers gathered here have rejected Lonmin's call to return to work.
The workers need what they need, and they are showing their strength. We are not going back to work until we get our 12,500 rand.
AMCU President Joseph Matunja says his union cannot be blamed for the recent spate of violence. Matunja addressed thousands of striking mine workers at the Wonderkop Stadium. Workers here aren't swayed by the threat of massive retrenchments.
We are still waiting for Lonmin and Impala and Anglo to come to the table. As you know for the fact that Anglo said they've got 1 billion, and then when we interrogate of how to reach a settlement, then they left us in the boardroom.
Church leaders have appealed for calm.
Killing each other won't help. What we need is 12,500.
500.
The National Union of Mineworkers have also criticized Lonmin for sending text messages to workers without having done a security analysis. NUM says it has also instructed its members to stay away.
The National Union of Mineworkers has prevented its members from going to work, citing fear for their safety. In our studio today, we have National Secretary for Health and Safety at National Union of Mineworkers, Eric Chana. And in Marikana at Lonmin Mine, near Rustenburg, we have our SABC reporter, Selu Tatsai, joining us today from there. Eric, firstly, thank you and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much also for the invitation for us to share our views. I would also like to pass our condolences to the families of the deceased in Turkey, also those who have lost their lives during this process of the strike.
It's been quite 2 dramatic days going on. Can you say that your members are caught in the middle of a labour dispute that's not theirs?
Yes, we must indicate that as much as we respect their right to strike for any union when there is a dispute, but in this situation, our members are not on strike. It's not only our members who are now caught in between. You have got your subcontractors. Nobody is negotiating for those subcontractors that are there in Lonmin and other surrounding mines in the platinum belt. All those are getting affected by the AMCU strike. The challenge is whenever these workers are trying to go to work, they are intimidated, they are earmarked, they are told, that they are warned that you continue to report to work, we are going to deal with you. And over the weekend, about 3 people were killed. two people were attacked in their house in Bapong, husband and the wife. Luckily, the wife didn't die. Another worker was attacked on his way to work. The other one was attacked in the residential area again in Marikana. All those are the attacks that took place over the weekend. Other than that, about 15 people have been injured, stabbed and hacked with pangas by the striking workers, which are AMCO members. This is not the only incident. If you track it back, about 25 cases we have of murder and attempted murder in the Platinum Belt by AMCO members to our members who are reporting for work. Again, the property damage, whereby the motor vehicles, the houses of our members have been banned for reporting to work, whereas NUM is not on strike. What we are calling for, AMCO must allow other unions and those who are not union members to exercise their rights, the right of freedom of association, so that they can be able to associate with any union. They must not be forced to belong to AMCO, even if they don't want to belong to AMCO.
We had these people being killed earlier this week. What is the latest on the investigation in that? Has anybody been brought to book?
So far, nobody has been brought to book, but we believe that the police are doing their work in order to pin down all those involved in these incidents. Because in the previous incidents, police have been working in trying to bring to book all those who have been involved in previous killings. The unfortunate part of it is the Department of Justice now that is letting the system down, because the police would bring the cases, but people will be given bail with multiple charges of murder on attempted murders. Again, the police would investigate these cases when these people are given your bail conditions. They don't even adhere to those bail conditions. Even yesterday, there's a guy by the name of Makanya. I just forgotten by the name of Makanya from Anglo Platinum. He was in front of those strikers, but we believe that in terms of the bail conditions, he's not supposed to be in those public events. But people ignore everything. They are law on themselves. That is what needs to be dealt with.
I quickly just want to cross to our reporter, Selo Tatai, who is in Rustenburg. Selo, if you can hear me, can you just bring us up to the latest on the ground? What's happening there?
Well, since from last night, there hasn't been any serious incident that has been reported. You'll remember that just this past 2 days, 12 people have been arrested. We are still trying to establish with police whether the 12 people who have been arrested, maybe some of them might be striking workers affiliated to AMCO. But of critical importance, of interest, is that when Joseph Matunja was addressing workers here at Von der Kolk Stadium yesterday, he said that AMCO could not be blamed for the recent spate of violence, saying that it is possible that there are criminal elements who are capitalizing on the situation for their own objective and for their own criminal ends. It will be interesting, though, to see the investigation by police, whether they will reveal that, whether it's AMCO members who have killed 3 people at Bapong and also who have been barricading streets with burning tires and stones, preventing people from reporting for duty.
Now, Selo, what is the scene like at the moment where you're standing? Just tell us exactly where you are and then any expectations for later this day.
Well, I'm currently at Roland Shaft here at Marikana, just next to Ngani Informal Settlement, which was a scene of a violent labor dispute in 2012, which claimed the lives of 34 mine workers who were killed during a confrontation with police. It's fairly quiet and the situation is tense. A heavy police contingent is on standby to quell any form of violence that might erupt here. You'll remember that just yesterday, cars belonging to non-striking workers were pelted with stones and some of them were set alight. We have been told now that at Impala, workers there are in support of their colleagues here at Marikana and saying that they'll not report for duty. You'll remember that Impala is one of the mines which has bypassed AMCO and taken their latest wage offer directed to its employees through SMSs. Many of AMCO members are saying that they'll not be responding to that particular instruction by their employer through SMSs to report for duty.
Selo, thank you so much for joining us. And that was Selo Tatai in Rustenburg, our SABC reporter. Eric, I just want to get back to you. AMCU is demanding 12,500 rand. What is the current wage for miners, and is the demand sustainable according to the opinion?
According to our view, there's nothing wrong when the AMCU demands 12,500. The challenge is whether is it achievable or not. For instance, ourselves, even in the Platinum Belt, we have been negotiating in Anglo-Platinum. We have signed the agreement at 8.5%, between 7% and 8.5% in Anglo-Platinum, because we believe that, the fight for improved wages is a journey. It's not something that you can just achieve overnight. It's a journey. That's what we believe on. Come next time, we'll sit down again and engage on the negotiations and see where do we settle. In terms of whether it is realistic or not, it will be difficult for me because I don't know the pockets of the employers. But I believe that that's why I'm saying that this is a journey. As NUM, we believe that the stakeholders still need to sit down and see how this problem could get resolved, because now it's affecting innocent lives. Yes, I could hear that there's a contingence of police in Lonmin, but regardless of that contingency of police, people are attacked in residential areas where there's no police. They are earmarked as they come to work, and as they come from work and to work. They get attacked now alone in residential areas. Therefore, there's a need of comprehensive approach of how the companies and boards are going to deal with those who are eager to report for work. We know we have met with a number of even AMCU members. Some of them have been reporting for work in the Platinum Belt, including in Anglo-Platinum.
What would the use of negotiations be if you just put 12,500 in the beginning and the end of every sentence?
That's why when you negotiate, you've got your opening demand, you've got your settlement demand, where you settle in terms of negotiations. We think that is what is lacking in this period of negotiations, which we think that the stakeholders that are there must be flexible enough to engage and understand each other so that there can be settlement that could be reached that will not affect other stakeholders that are not in the negotiating team.
Now, we just spoke to Selo. The police, they are there. But the problem is workers going home at night. There's a desperate need to return to work. What is the mood like in the NUM at the moment?
We have been out encouraging our members to report for duty because NUM is not on strike. We have been doing that. Unfortunately now, with this environment now that is there now, it is very difficult because our members were harassed. Their houses on Sunday night were torched. Number of our members' houses were torched. We have to remove our members from the hotspot areas to safe areas. As we speak now, some of our members have to be taken out of that environment to the safe area. That is on our expenses. NUM, the companies are just relaxed, saying that they just want people to come to work.
Then just lastly, just your advice and your plea for the people and the parties involved in this ongoing dispute?
Our advice will be those who are on strike must allow those who are not on strike to report for duty, because for them not reporting on duty is absent without permission. That's the first case. Number two, workers must be allowed to exercise their freedom of choice, because now once AMCU sees the decline is on its membership, always there must be violence, so that people must be intimidated not to resign from AMCU and join NUM. Three, on the negotiating team, I think that these negotiations have been going for too long. It's either the negotiations now are they are breaking negotiations and go to another session, which we may call it maybe team building or whatever, and then come back fresh. Or AMCU look at the settlement, whether the settlement is possible or not, because we have been engaging with members, including AMCU members, who are saying, no, we don't mind, we can take the current offer, because we are starving as we speak now. But when you go to the mass meeting, you get to a different environment. Anybody who speaks against 12,000 or who speaks to the settlement get harassed. Now, people are scared to speak against 12,500 as a settlement now.
Eric, thank you so much for joining us, and good luck for the rest of the day. That was Eric Lechana joining us. He's the National Secretary of Health and Safety at the National Union of Mineworkers. Then let's just take a look at what you've been saying on social media concerning the platinum strike. Imagine having to choose between earning a living to feed your family and staying away from work to avoid the risk of death. Hashtag platinum strike. Unionists are one of the biggest fraudsters in South Africa. Both AMCU and COSATU lie to largely economically illiterate workers. That's one person's opinion. Hashtag bring back our jobs. Hashtag bring back our freedom. Hashtag platinum strike. Obviously, the hashtags to follow today if you want to get involved in this conversation. Tetwa police will ensure that the constitutional rights of miners are protected. Hashtag Marikana. Then platinum strike. I'm worried about the rules of negotiations in terms of give and take. The rule of law is really compromised. Remember, you can send us your tweets at SABC Newsroom, then also on our Facebook page. Just send us pictures and let us know what you're thinking. We love it to put it on our show and just to engage with that. Then just before the break, let's have a look at what's making headlines on the front pages of the world this morning. The New York Times is still covering the story of the abducted Nigerian schoolgirls. Of course, it's a global concern at this stage. And then you'll also find a story on the September 11th Memorial Museum at Ground Zero, which is finally opening today. Then all of the Turkish headlines this morning focusing mainly on the rescue operations currently underway as they continue to search for survivors after an explosion and fire deep inside a coal mine, which killed at least 274 in the country's worst ever mine disaster. All of these front pages are available on our Newsroom Facebook page, where you can have a more in-depth look at them. Then after a short break, we take a look at the latest developments in the Oscar Pistorius trial. This is Newsroom on SABC News.
The Swaziland Tourism Authority invited Kaleidoscope on a media tour of what has become known as the Little Switzerland of Africa, the Kingdom of Swaziland. The Mantanga Waterfall is one of Swaziland's best known and most accessible waterfalls, as it can be seen within 50 meters.
That's Kaleidoscope, Sundays 5:30 p.m. on SABC News.
Welcome back. This is Newsroom on SABC News. Now, murder-accused Oscar Pistorius must be sent for mental observation. Judge Thokozile Masipa ruled in the High Court in Pretoria yesterday. She ordered that he be sent for psychiatric evaluation after forensic psychiatrist Dr. Merrill Foster testified that he had general anxiety disorder. This prompted the state to lodge an application to refer him for observation. The trial will certainly now face a lengthy delay. In Masipa's ruling, she said that psychiatric evidence before the court could not replace a proper inquiry into his mental health. The prosecution argued on Tuesday that psychiatry tests were essential and that it should be done, a move opposed by the defense team. Now, we are today joined by legal expert Bernard Hortz from Worksman's Attorneys to just explain the legal matters and processes involved at this stage of the case that we are at. Bernard, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us again on the show.
Catrine. Nice to be here.
Bernard, let's just start off before we get to yesterday's application. A lot of people, where are we at exactly in the trial at this moment? Because it's been quite a lengthy battle
This is a legal soap opera of note.
Yes.
Catrine, what is happening? The nice thing is that nobody really knows what's going to happen each day. It's actually amazing to watch it as a legal expert. We have the defense who are leading witnesses. They're calling expert witnesses, and as you've seen, the prosecutor, Gerrie Nel, is cross-examining them. And you'll recall at the outset, the question that was asked is, when the state was leading their case, why is Gerrie Nel just not putting up too much of a performance? He's just leading his witness, but there's no real interaction. Well, now we're seeing him in full swing, so to speak, in relation to the cross-examination of the experts. So we've had certain experts whose evidence has been adduced. I think Gerrie Nel has quite successfully challenged their so-called expertise and cast doubt on the testimony that has been given in a number of instances. But what we're now faced with is a curveball, where I think what the defense put in an expert witness to obviously deal with Oscar's state of mind, an anxiety problem. And the whole reason for that is because obviously an argument is going to be put forward that perhaps one has to look at mitigating factors when it comes to intent. The prosecution, as we saw, immediately started asking a question of the expert, namely, could Oscar Pistorius appreciate right from wrong? Answer was yes. And that led us into another dimension, which I don't think necessarily the defense anticipated happening.
Now, yesterday's application, was it strange or out of the ordinary that an application like this was granted?
I don't think so at all, because one must bear in mind that you now have an expert testifying to a mental state of mind. The judge, neither the judge nor the assessors are experts in that arena. So what the Criminal Procedure Act says is that where somebody's mental capacity is put into question, the court has a duty to say, hold on a moment, this may have an effect on the outcome of this trial. We need to assess, does this person actually have a mental issue, diminished capacity? And the only way that the court can determine this is by invoking the provision that the judge has invoked in terms of the Criminal Procedure Act to say we need to send the accused, Oscar Pistorius, for an inquiry. Only once that inquiry has been conducted in the manner set out in the Criminal Procedure Act by a whole host of experts over a period of time can the court then comprehend and try and reach a decision. Is there a problem or is there not a problem?
Now, should this application and this whole discussion not have happened a bit earlier in the trial? It's happening only now.
That's why I say this is a legal soap opera, because you never know what's going to happen on each day. It conceivably, bear in mind that the defense is not one of mental incapacity. The defense that was raised is, I thought it was an intruder and I was acting in self-defense. So the last time we spoke, we were talking about putative self-defense and what came out in Oscar's testimony, which really doused to a large degree that defense of putative self-defense. So all of a sudden we're now dealing with this, and correctly so. Gerrie Nel says, but hold on a moment, I see you raising something over here. In good sense, one has to say, but is this an issue? If it is an issue, bearing in mind that Professor Forster or Dr. Forster only allegedly observed Oscar Pistorius on 2 occasions. In order to do proper justice to that, there has to be a proper inquiry over an extended period so that the experts can come to court and say, we're in agreement or we're not in agreement. But there's also another twist, because if after the period of observation, the experts who have assessed Oscar are not in agreement. So if there's a unanimous result, that's one thing. The court can say, well, we've got a unanimous result from the experts, I can now accept that. Somebody can challenge that, the prosecutor can challenge it, even if it's unanimous. But you may also find that the experts are not unanimous, in which event the judge says, I need to hear those experts in court. They need to be examined and cross-examined. So we're now on another path completely.
Now, we're talking about, Judge Masipa said it's not a punishment and inpatient, outpatient. Can you just clarify exactly what's meant by inpatient, outpatient, and what we're expecting Oscar to be?
Well, if you look at the Act again, the Act says that the judge may insist that Oscar be analysed as a so-called inpatient. In law, we talk about preemptory language, directory language. If somebody says you must do something, then that would mean the judge must insist that it's on an inpatient basis. But the Act specifically says may. The experts say, well, it's not really appropriate for an examination of this kind to be conducted on an outpatient basis because you're not observing somebody over a 24-hour period for a period of 30 days. They're coming in at all times of the day. I'm not the expert to determine whether or not that would be suitable. But the statute does give the judge an alternative, an option, because it uses the words may, not must.
Why do you think the defence opposed this application?
Well, let's look at what happens. If, for instance, it's determined that Oscar does suffer from this disorder and that it diminished his mental capacity. If, however, at the end of the trial, he's found to have been criminally responsible because in his testimony it said he can appreciate wrongfulness, he knows right from wrong. So if he is found to have been criminally responsible for his conduct, what this then does is this has an effect on potential sentencing, because if it's shown that he had a diminished mental capacity at the time, it doesn't mean that he gets off scot-free, so to speak. It would then have an effect on sentencing.
Then just to clarify exactly, what are we expecting to happen after this 30-day period when we come back? Just set it out for us exactly.
Well, as I said previously, take three scenarios. The experts come back with a unanimous report which says, yes, he does have this disorder. That can still be objected to by the prosecutor or by the defence. In which event there's going to have to be examination and cross-examination of the experts. If the experts themselves come back and they're not unanimous, then those very experts are going to have to come into court and testify and be cross-examined by both the state and the defence. So I think we're going to see a whole nother dynamic to the case unfolding, and I think it's going to last a lot longer.
And just on the legal, with your legal background, you've been following this case. What intrigues you most about this case?
That you never know what's going to happen next.
Well, Bernard, thank you so much for joining us again. You're quite a famous face following the Oscar trial here on our show.
Thank you so much.
And that was Bernard Hortz from Worksman's Attorneys. He's our legal expert following the Oscar case with us, as it's sure to be another lengthy delay. Now, let's just take a look at what you're saying on social media. Yesterday, we saw Judge Masipa leading the trending pack on Twitter. I truly hope Judge Masipa locks Oscar Pistorius up. He should feel nice and safe there. No break-ins. Laugh out loud. At least Judge Masipa is fair for listening to Nell's request. Now we wait for another 30 days. I respect Judge Masipa, but wouldn't an evaluation be more effective 24/7 to truly reflect the nature of the diagnosis? Oscar Pistorius is going to get off. Judge Masipa is far too soft on him. Arriva will not get her justice. #Oscar trial. Everybody has an opinion on this case. Then let's just have a look at our Facebook page. Remember, you can send us all of your requests via Facebook or on Twitter at SABC Newsroom. On the Facebook page, we have the latest on the ongoing dispute in the mine industry, and then also the latest on the Oscar trial. You will also find all of the latest on the high-profile cases happening. We're talking Kretcher, the background Devani that was earlier this week as well. It is all available on the page. Now, today, on the 15th of May 2004 in Zurich, Switzerland, Sepp Blatter, president of FIFA, world soccer governing body, made an historic announcement that South Africa would host the 2010 World Cup. Nelson Mandela wept tears of joy, telling the audience in Zurich that he felt like a young man of 15. Let's take a look at that announcement made exactly 10 years ago today.
I discovered it with you. Connu? The 2010 FIFA World Cup will be organized in South Africa.
Surely a day to remember. Can't believe it's 10 years ago already. Then after the break, we have the Goodman Gallery in studio to talk about another bold exhibition that they have going on at the moment. This is Newsroom on SABC News.
You missed the Oscar Pistorius trial? Watch the update and highlights of key moments in the trial on SABC News Channel 404 every night at 9 o'clock and at 5 a.m. All local, all global, all the time.
Gaming enthusiasts, including us here at Network, indulged in over 80 exhibits that included the Xbox One and Nintendo. Visitors also got to try out PlayStation 4 computer entertainment system, which was unveiled at Rage 2013.
I just came here to see the Xbox One and the PS4, see which one I'd buy.
If you have close to 400,000 Rand to spare, then you can buy the new UHD TV set. Samsung has launched cheaper models, but cheaper doesn't necessarily mean cheap. South Africa has just received the country's first surgical robot, but the robot isn't quite taking over from your surgeon just yet.
That's Network, Sundays, 7:30 p.m. on SABC News.
Welcome back. You're with Newsroom on SABC News. The president of the Mineworkers Union, Joseph Matunja, says they will continue with their strike at the platinum mines until their demands have been met. An undisclosed number of workers did return to Lonmin's mine at Marikana yesterday, which was the company's deadline for them to return. Judge Thokozile Masipa says sending murder-accused Oscar Pistorius for mental observation is not punishment and that the possibility of him being an outpatient should be investigated. Pistorius was sent for psychiatric evaluation after a forensic psychiatrist testified that he had general anxiety disorder. The final order will be given on Tuesday. And then the death toll from Turkey's coal mine disaster has risen to 274 and likely to go higher. Anxious relatives are still waiting outside the mine in the town of Soma for any news of their loved ones. Around 100 miners are still missing following the underground fire that happened on Tuesday. That was your morning headlines for this morning. Now time for a look at what's been happening on the online news and social media front. Joining me is SABC Digital News Production Editor, Christelle de Toy. Christelle, welcome back. Are you also suffering the election hangover?
I think everyone is. I've still got my evidence that I voted. Yes, I think it was a very successful election for the SABC in general. From Digital's point of view, we had an unprecedented drive to provide coverage on all digital platforms, and we've seen tremendous uptake on that. On Twitter, for example, we had up to 1,000 new followers a day at one stage, and we've reached the 200,000 mark, which is quite nice. Wow. It's definitely up there with other media organizations in South Africa. On Facebook, we had 1,600 new likes on one day, and during the course of the election week, we had nearly 100,000 people who saw our posts and then many of them continue to share them and engage
This
with
was
them.
all on Facebook?
This was on Facebook. This was on Twitter at SABC News Online. We also then had two websites. We have our main website, which is sabc.co.za/news, where our traffic tripled. We had about 300,000 people per day at one stage, and that's unique visitors. And then we had this, which is our election site, which is elections.sabc.co.za. That is still live. And what's very nice about this site is you can still go back to it. You can see what seats were won by whom, what votes was won by whom, and you can go down to voting station level and see who voted for whom in which area, and then look at demographic information in that.
It's
so this
quite
is
user-friendly and easy to
very user-friendly. You can have it in pie charts, you can have it in maps. It is completely interactive, and you can really analyze for yourself what is available. And it's the first time that the ISC has made this kind of information available. What's also unique is this adapts to your mobile phone. So all the access that you have on your desktop, you also have on your tablet and your mobile phone. And we saw up to 300,000 visitors per day on there.
Yeah.
You can see some of the stats coming through. We also live streamed many of the events from the Results Operations Centre in Johannesburg, in Pretoria, and we had up to 300,000 views in this period. So it really has been tremendous uptake on it.
I did see the digital team running around there with GoPros and like getting that backstage element of what was happening at the Rock, because a lot of people don't know actually what it looks like inside and all of the excitement going on.
Absolutely, and I think the potential of online coverage has just become so immense. We have a piece online about the background situation at the ROC, which ROC of course referring to Results Operations Centre, showing what people were doing, how much coffee they were drinking, how you guys were really slogging out long hours,
shifts, yes.
graveyard shifts, yes. And it's very nice to kind of bring that backstage perspective. But what's really important is that you can kind of package a complete television product for online, through online. You can see here we even caught Eben and hijacked him with our producer Matiba there. And we're taking this a little step further as well, in that we're doing something called Google Hangouts, which sounds quite intimidating to people, but what it basically is a video conversation online. So we took a tweet that one of our producers had taken of the ANC and the DA outside polling stations, and the ANC specifically were giving away free T-shirts. So we went to the Gauteng Election Centre, which was here in Auckland Park, and spoke to the presiding officer and said, but what is the situation? Are they allowed to do that? And with technology, with either a laptop or your mobile phone, you can now live stream an interview and a conversation on the internet. So we literally had a phone where you do a kind of video conversation, and it means any journalist anywhere doesn't need a TV camera anymore. They can literally, with their phone, they can interact with anyone at any stage. This is my face in bad perspective in the video, and it's a learning curve. So we figured out that we can offer on-the-go coverage with the most basic of technology.
And everybody's allowed to engage.
Everyone can engage. You can watch it live on YouTube. And we'll be doing this, I think, specifically in the context of Oscar Pistorius, to bring you the latest developments in that case. So it's a very exciting development.
Now, you guys did an amazing, terrific job with the elections. Hats off to you guys. The other big story this week, #BringBack our goals.
Yeah, this hashtag has become tremendous, and what we did is we took a map online to start looking at who exactly said what where. So we started with Malala Yousafzai, apologies if I pronounced that incorrectly, and you've seen that there's a trend on Facebook for everyone to hold up signs saying bring back our girls. Michelle Obama, of course, the First Lady of the United States, took to the radio waves as well on this topic. She was then commended by Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka, who also tweeted a lot, and the UN Woman has been very outspoken. So this then comes from New York, from the United Nations. In South Africa, then, the Nelson Mandela Foundation has also spoken out and said that we have to look after our women and children, and for every woman and child that is attacked, we reduce our humanity. So really placing it in context. Graça Michel broke her mourning period, which is very, very significant, to speak out on the matter. So this map is available on the website, and you can really get an idea where we've got the Pope speaking out about it, and world leaders really saying,
wow, you're
something
really
has
getting
to
the
be
whole
done.
perspective of this being such a global concern.
Absolutely. And I think the challenge will be, obviously the first challenge is to release these girls, but then for this kind of agenda and the African agenda to stay in the mainstream media and for these newsmakers to keep speaking out about these atrocities and the things that are happening.
Then just quickly, the Marikana protem, what's going on in Marikana and Lonmin and everything, how are you guys covering it?
What's very important with digital is to bring up-to-the-minute news. So we've got reporters in Marikana that are sending us through information and that are sending us through pictures, and we're keeping a very, very close eye on that. We've got pictures on the website available on that from our reporters, and we'll definitely keep updating that.
Well, Christelle, thank you so much for joining us again. And again, people can access the website, SABC News, sabc.co.za/news. And then also on Twitter at SABC News Online. That was Christelle de Tooy joining us. She is the digital news production editor. Then as the search for the missing Nigerian schoolgirls continues with more international involvement, parents had the inevitable task of identifying their daughters on a video released by captors Boko Haram.
Anguished parents hoping to spot their missing girls. Godea Simon among those who managed to escape.
I'm feeling happy because we see our friends, but we want to go and bring them for us.
Those shown among the 276 abducted on April the 14th from a secondary school. 200 are still missing. In Lagos, yet another protest.
We are putting our foot down and saying enough is enough, actually. Government, police, army, international diplomacy, everybody just come together and stop this kind of chaos.
In Soweto, are sentiments.
They must be strong because I believe that they're going to find them. Whatever they do, they must just stay strong.
As girls, as female girls, we can just have hope. And hope that they'll be back home safe.
And another call on the UN and the AU to step in.
We are calling on the whole world, world leaders, on religious leaders, communities, and women's organizations to stand up and fight against these horrific atrocities.
Boko Haram has offered to release them in exchange for freedom of jailed members. Dumela Macho, SABC News.
Now, the Goodman Gallery is back with another bold new exhibition called Nail Her, an exhibition of new sculptural works by Frances Goodman, not at all related to the Goodman Gallery. Goodman is known for her multimedia that explore the commodification and objectification of the body, excess and obsession. In Nail Her, Goodman uses one of fashion's ultimate feminine accessories, the false nail, which she layers and overlaps to create form, movement, pattern and structure. Goodman is fast becoming known as one of South Africa's strong artistic voices on feminism, consumerism and desire. She joins us today in studio. Frances, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me here.
Frances, I just want to start off. We hear nail her, we hear nails. Did the idea of actually using real fingernails ever pop up?
I think it was a thought that went through my head, but there are more than 500,000 nails on the exhibition, so I think to get that many real nails would be quite difficult. And I think also the theme of the exhibition was about the false nail rather than the fingernail. I think they're quite different things in a way.
Can you tell us more about the reason behind using false nails?
Well, I think that there's something really interesting about the false nail, and you know, we as women live in a time that we're very influenced by the beauty industry, a capitalist society that tells us what's beautiful and what makes us beautiful as women. And I think what's interesting about the false nail is it's an extension of the body. It's a false extension of the body. But it's the one area that is claimed by women, and it's owned by women in that it's a way that women kind of express themselves. You can be a different person every day depending on how you do your nails. So it's an expressive, less sort of constricted form of the beauty industry, I think.
How long did it take to get all of these nails together? You said, is it more than 500,000?
More than 500,000, yeah.
How long did that process take, and exactly how does it work? How do you put these things together?
Well, we've been working on it for about a year. It's been quite an intensive process. I didn't realise how long it was going to take to do it. So it's been bit hectic. But the process, they have been individually glued one by one onto the sculptures. So there's been a lot of obsessive, laborious, repetitive motion going on that's involved in putting the exhibition together.
I also understand that it's one of your first collaborations with designer Suzanne Haynes. Can you tell us about your working process together and what her influence was in this?
Well, as I said, the exhibition was about the idea of the false nail as being armour or skin or this extension of the woman. And the more I thought about it, the more it made sense to have something that's dealt with clothing or the skin as clothing or armour. So I thought of speaking with Suzanne, who I have known for a long time, and we've always had a great rapport. We actually used to live down the road from each other. And when I approached her and asked her whether she'd be interested in collaborating and looking at the false nail as a dress, she was keen to be on board. And it's been a fantastic collaboration. We really were able to talk and we fed off each other. And I think that the result was very exciting and engaging.
Now, I read a couple of articles before this interview, and it's everywhere it pops up, it's labelled as a bold exhibition. Is it really that bold? Why do you think people still cringe when we talk about fingernails, using false nails in artworks? Why do we find it so weird?
Well, I think that there's something interesting about anything that comes from the body, something that's left by the body, or that, you know, it's that, you know, it's the abject, it's of the body. And I think anything that comes of the body that's left behind makes people uncomfortable because it was alive, it was living, it was part of something, and then it's just been sort of discarded or left behind. So I think that everyone I speak to talks about how the exhibition has a very visceral effect on them. People, you know, someone said, I feel anxiety when I look at the work, and which is interesting because the work is very bright and colourful and, you know, aesthetic, but there's there's a turn in it because it's beautiful, but it also, when you realise what it's made of, it does make your stomach turn a bit, which is what I wanted to achieve with the exhibition.
Now, as an artist, can you just tell us a bit more about your themes that you use and what inspires you? I know you're big on femininity and identity in society today.
Well, I'm very interested in women in society. I'm also very interested in sort of socio-economic things where we turn from being driven by what we need to being driven by what we desire. And I think that the society we live in with the media and advertising really plays on this and really feeds into this. And I don't think we even know how much we're influenced by advertising in the media, and it dictates who we are as people. And that's what I'm fascinated in looking at as an artist. And I think it's also women and feminism is something that is still so crucial and important, and it's kind of overlooked, especially in art. You know, women in art, I think it's something that still needs to be addressed. So I think it's important for me to continue to speak out on it.
Then just to end off with the final details, when can people go see your work?
The exhibition's on at the Goodman Gallery, which is on Jansen Avenue in Rosebank, and it's on from 9:30 to 5:30 Tuesday to Saturday, and I think it ends on the 30th.
Frances, thank you so much for joining us, and that was Frances Goodman with her latest, talking about her latest exhibition, Nail Her, the whole artworks made out of false nails, and go have a look at it. It's at the Goodman Gallery until the 30th of May, if I'm correct. Now, before we end off the show, let's just have a look at what you're saying on social media. Please remember to send us your tweets at SABC Newsroom. Then good morning, Nigeria. Let's keep the hope high. Our girls will come home. Hashtag bring back our girls is a naive belief that Twitter rescues girls, but I hope that raising our voices can help prevent it from being ignored. And then in the world we want, going to school shouldn't have to be an act of bravery. Hashtag bring back our girls. Obviously, it's the big global story at the moment. And if you have a look at that picture over there, 200 of us went missing. Real men don't buy girls. Seen a lot of celebrities posing with those posters as well in the bid to get these girls and get this attention out there. Then, I'm Catrine Malan in for Eben Jansen today. This has been a live broadcast brought to you by SABC News. We are coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. More updates continues on this channel throughout the rest of the day. You're watching Newsroom. We love it in the morning.